Hello everyone, I'm Yi Xu from the Chinese language program in the Department of Eastern Asian Languages and Literature.
Hi everyone, I'm Chang. I'm a graduate student researcher in the Learning Research and Development of Chinese University of Pittsburgh.
We worked with Chang and Charles Perfetti on an article titled Reading, Writing and Animation in Character Learning in Chinese as a Foreign Language, published on Foreign Language Annals, the 2013 fall issue. We are here to tell you something about our project and encourage you to read this article. In this video, we will show you the actual environment in which the experiment sessions took place, and we'll tell you something briefly about the background, the design, as well as why we think it is important for teachers and students to know the findings of our project.
Yeah, in this project, we compare the differential effect of 3 encoding method in helping foreign language learner to learn Chinese characters. And the 3 encoding method include, first is reading, which is viewing a static image of the character itself. And second, it is the animation, viewing how a character be written stroke by stroke by an animation program. And the third one is writing, handwriting the character. So Xu Laoshi, would you please start by telling us why the topic is important and how character learning is implemented in traditional classroom settings?
Sure. As many language teachers are aware, Chinese is one of the most difficult languages identified, particularly for native speakers of American English. And one of the difficulties that learners frequently report in survey research is that they need to spend a lot of time in overcoming the obstacles in reading Chinese. So character learning is a very important topic in our field. One of the differences between English and Chinese is the written system, the writing system. In English, there is a grapheme-phoneme correspondence, but in Chinese, each character is actually not a word. It corresponds to a morpheme, and it also corresponds to a syllable. In reading in Chinese, one has to quickly process the orthographic form and retrieve its meaning as well as sound. So it is this process that can cause a lot of difficulties for learners. Traditionally, learning character is done by rote memory. And here I want to emphasize that in Chinese as a foreign language classrooms, usually copying characters handwriting is conducted to some varying degrees. Teachers ask students to practice it in classroom or assign it as homework, but the amount of time that they spend in Chinese as a foreign language teaching classroom or outside is actually not comparable to how we as native speakers learn the writing system as part of our L1 literacy development. But still, handwriting is a traditional practice that is both done in L1 and L2 learning, assigned as homework or in the classroom as part of the exercise.
Yeah, since handwriting character copying is the traditional approach to teaching, Xu Laoshi, could you tell the reader what are some emergent situations that prompt us to carry out this research?
One of the greatest changes that we see in today's world is, of course, the increasing availability of technology, and people have becoming more reliant on it. And nowadays we can say that perhaps the necessity to handwrite has diminished. People text a lot, they type a lot. So some educators has raised the question about whether it is still necessary for us to require students to spend that much time practicing handwriting, because it is very time consuming and can even get somewhat tedious. On the student side, a lot of students are actually interested in doing handwriting, knowing something more about the Chinese writing system. But in most cases, they are not explicitly aware why they are required to do that. And you can imagine that students might be more interested in learning characters on technology-enhanced modalities than writing on paper and pen. So these are some of the considerations that we have in mind when carrying out this project. So in this project, we compared handwriting and animation, which is a technology-enhanced encoding method, with the simple exposure to the visual form of the character. We refer to it as reading. And this basically sums up the background of our project. And the purpose of our project is to see the comparative effectiveness of these three methods in helping students to recognize and to reproduce Chinese characters. Mm-hmm. And now perhaps we can move on to what we actually did in this project. And Li, would you like to tell the audience about the design of the project, including the participant and the procedure?
Of course. So here is the actual environment where our experiment took place. I will talk about the design first. Recall that we have three treatments: reading, animation, and writing. In order to make sure the effect is from different treatment, we asked each participant to experience all three conditions. It's called within subject design. This is a good way to reduce noisy variance between individuals. As for the materials, each participant learned 60 characters in total. That is, they learned 20 characters in each condition, while the set of characters in each condition differed for participants in different groups. We also carefully balanced the sequence of learning conditions. As for the procedure of each learning condition, we have a very detailed explanation in our papers. So now I will use some slides to show you how we measure the comparative effectiveness of the three conditions. After learning, the participant received 6 tasks. This table shows the instruction for each task and what these tasks measures. So we have the links of lexical constituents as well as the measures. There are 3 computerized tasks. The first one is the lexical decision task. In reading study, this task is used to assess participant visual orthographic representations of the character form. The participants saw one image on the screen and they were asked to decide if the image is a real character or not. Now I'm going to show you a few actual examples here. This is the beginning of the lexical decision task. Of course, in real experiment, there were more items than this. For the second and the third computerized task, they are form-sound matching and the form-meaning matching tasks. These tasks tell us whether the participant established strong form-sound and form-meaning links within a character. As for the paper and pencil tasks, we have lexical constituency tasks, which referring to the meaning, and the pinyin recall task. The participants were asked to recall or to write down the pinyin and meaning when the character form was given to them. And the last task is a character production task. The participants were asked to write the character form based on the pinyin and the meaning provided. Our paper actually gives very detailed information to these tasks.
What are some of the major findings that you want to summarize here?
Okay, I would like to use this table to summarize our findings. This is the most exciting part to me. For the orthographic measures seen from the lexical decision task and the character production task, we found that writing is a better method to refine the orthographic representation than reading and animation. And for the lexical constituency measures, referring to the form meaning matching, the pinyin, and the meaning recall, we found that reading leads to better results than both animation and the writing, which shows here. To sum up, Writing leads to better orthographic representation, while reading leads to strong form meaning and form sound links. As for the animation, the effect is between the writing and the reading, in offering a balance between high-quality form representation and in establishing strong form meaning links. Of course, we have some interpretations about the underlying mechanism that drives the different patterns. If you are interested in our discussion, please read our paper. Now I'm going to switch the spotlight to the implication of this study. 徐老师, would you please share some insight that we think can inform the field of foreign language teaching and learning with our audience?
I would like to start by addressing the question of whether handwriting can be dispensed with in Chinese as a foreign language teaching nowadays. What our research finds is that handwriting helps learners to develop a very high quality form representation, and they can pay attention to the characters' details, including strokes, their shape, as well as their features, how they work together with each other to construct a character from bottom level higher up. So this kind of high quality representation is not necessarily replaced by learning through reading or even animation. So our research can provide some empirical evidence or support for the traditional practice of doing handwriting during students' learning process. Of course, it is possible to argue that in today's world, people rely more on recognizing characters instead of reproducing them, especially in typing or texting. But it's still important to know that Chinese characters can be orthographically similar to each other, and the radicals too. Here I will show you two very simple examples that first-year Chinese students often encounter difficulties with, and these are actual examples where they make mistakes in their learning. These two pairs of characters, these two characters look very similar, orthographically similar to each other, and these two too. And even for intermediate or advanced learners, they can still encounter a lot of obstacles in differentiating characters with similar forms. And in fast reading, this can create challenges or problems for them. So we think by doing handwriting, this can help students to pay attention to the details of the character so that they will notice the differences. And in this aspect, we think our research can be informative to students and teachers.
Mm-hmm. And how about using technology such as animations for character learning then?
In our project, we find that animation offers perhaps a good alternative in that it controls the trade-off between establishing a high-quality form representation and establishing form meaning links. And animation has the advantage of not being restricted by class time, and when students do not have constant access to a teacher, they can easily use software or mobile devices or computers to learn characters in that way. We do think there are a lot of potential that we can explore in computer-assisted language learning in character learning in that aspect.
Sounds good. Would you please also say something more about the effect of a simple exposure to the character form?
We mentioned in our paper that some previous studies find that writing is not only more beneficial than reading in form representation, but also in form meaning link. And in this aspect, our finding is somewhat different, and we offer an explanation from the perspective of the students' proficiency, because the students that we recruited have already had one semester's training in the language, and they had acquired more than 450 characters. So we can say that they already established some substantial orthographic knowledge before they participated in this experiment. And a lot of CFL studies have found that students can use their existing orthographic knowledge, including radical knowledge, to memorize new characters' meaning and associate the meaning with the form. So our results, in conjunction with some previous studies, can suggest that writing can be particularly helpful for beginning language learners who have not yet established such existing orthographic or radical knowledge yet.
Mm-hmm. Great. We hope our article will be of interest and inform the language teachers and encourage more effort in research into effective method in character learning or in developing reading skills in non-alphabetic language learners in general. And finally, we would like to thank our participants. Thank you very much for your time for participating and contributing to this study.